Hello, everyone out there in the podcast world. Hope you're having a great day. You're listening to the Service Business Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Tersh Blissett. Today's episode is part two of a mini series where we're talking about our website and how Wit Digital has improved upon a previous version of our website. So, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, make sure you check that out. That's part one. That's when we first started working on the website. It's been a couple months since then, and this is part two. And then we have a month or two after that, we have some more recordings for just tracking the stuff that's worked, the stuff that hasn't worked, the stuff that's changed since we first started this whole project. But anyways, I hope you enjoy this episode of the Service Business Mastery Podcast. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Of course, my email is tersh@icebound.us. And I will put show notes. I'll put links in the show notes for how you can reach out to Steven and reach out to the team over at Wit Digital. Also, don't forget, our sponsor for the podcast is ThermoGrid. It's a CRM that I'm swapped over to. And it's a really good program. It's an up-and-coming CRM, and I'm super excited about it. I'll put a link to that also, so if you can just check out that program. It's no pressure, nothing, but they really do a good job, and they share our content a lot, so super appreciative of that. So anyways, please let me know what you think about this episode, and let's get started with today's show. All right, what's up, everybody? We're back with Steven Christopher from Wit Digital, going over our website and kind of a real-time explanation of exactly how this stuff's going down, using Wit, and it's been a really cool process. And I like to share my successes with everybody, and so here's part of my successes. So I want to welcome to the show, Steven.
Awesome, brother Tersh. Thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah, man.
It's always exciting and fun to chat with you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So today's show, we're going to talk about since the last time we talked, and go over a little bit of how the SEO's changed and how we're ranking and some of the things that you've implemented to make that happen. So I guess
Awesome,
if you want to get started.
Yeah, let's rock and roll. So if you recall last time, we were still pretty young in the process of SEO for the site and for Icebound so far. And we talked about how we saw a lot of like big fluctuations, right? We'd see a lot of big like keywords, jump really, really high. And then we'd see some other ones like take really big dips. And that's very common in the beginning as we start to sort out and prove to Google what keywords we really want to be relevant for when we take on a new SEO client. And so for anybody listening, especially when you bring on a new SEO company, or if you just start to do SEO, don't freak out when you see those big fluctuations, because as long as you're doing it right, or as long as your marketing company is doing it right, those are going to even out. And we'll show some of that today and how that works. But if you panic and you start to make all these additional changes, or you start to revert back to what you did, Google sees that and says, okay, wait a minute, like, why are you freaking out? That was actually a test and you failed it. So obviously you're trying to trick the system.
Yeah, I definitely had that little bit of, I'd get the report from Luke and I'd be like, okay.
You're like, wait, what am I paying for here? This is the same. And we get it a lot, like in the first 60 days or 90 days when we work with a new client, especially in home service, right? Because you guys have been through marketing company after marketing company after marketing company. And we understand that. And it does take a little bit of time. So sometimes people will be like, dude, did we really, are you really different? And we're like, just wait. Don't forget, you saw all of the proof that we showed you, and client success after client success. So don't forget about that. It will come.
Yeah. 100%. And the thing about that I like about y'all is you're definitely willing to pivot if you if you're seeing that this isn't working. It's not like some of the other places out there where it's like, okay, well, this works at most places, so we're going to just do this for everybody. You very individualize based on each company.
Yeah, there's not a one size fits all. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some very good general best practices
Mm,
that one show up in the SEO industry, and then there's some best practices that we've kind of developed based on working with home service companies for so long. So we combine those two things, and that's what we generally start with. And then we take a little bit of, how are things performing for your site now based on what
mm.
other SEO companies have or haven't done,
Well,
and then
the
we
challenge
we
that
create
you
it.
part of the challenge that you also have with us is you took a site that you didn't build and you have to fix it. So it was a decent site when they had it, but then when they transferred it over to WordPress, like there was a lot of things left off of it, and so you've had to. I mean, we've been with you for like 120 days, not MS.
Yeah,
Is that
somewhere
about
right
right?
around there.
Yeah. And so you've had to like battle that whole time fixing those SEO things while like it like design wise it looks pretty good, from just a consumer's point of view, it looks decent. But then on the SEO side, I've even like seen reports where like we speed test certain things and like none of the images were compressed. And I was like, how did you give me a site where none of the images are compressed? And so like y'all have had to go through and just deal with that drama at the exact same time as increasing the SEO rankings, increasing, the blog posts and the articles and that type of stuff. So that's really cool. Kudos to you for that.
Yeah, thanks, man. And just to kind of distill that too for anybody that's listening, when you start talking about compressing images, right? Like that might be a very foreign word to some people listening. So,
Yeah.
what Terse is referring to is essentially how big the files are for the images. And a lot of times web companies, they only care about what looks really good, so they'll
Hmm.
upload this really nice high quality high resolution image, and the file is massive, right? It
Yep.
came from some high end photography company or a really good camera, or even the iPhones now take
Oh
massive
yeah.
pictures.
Yep.
And if you don't resize that and make it smaller, compress it, then that massive file size is going to slow down the load time on the site, which is going to negatively impact both your SEO, your rankings, but also it's going to negatively impact your conversion.
Yeah.
Because I mean, nowadays, man, if I load a site on mobile and it's not up in a couple seconds, like I'm gone.
Yep. Bounce.
Yeah, it's
See you later.
crazy. So yeah, we did. We worked on a lot of that stuff in the
Mm.
beginning, and then kind of jumping into what we've been doing. I'm going to talk in like a 60-day window for
Okay.
today, just because I'll show you
Sounds
some
good.
stuff that's kind of helpful. But what we've really been working on like the last 60 days has been paying attention to what's happening based on the work we've done.
Mm.
So, like you mentioned, a lot of SEO companies just run this task list, right, for everybody. Well, we do it a little bit differently. So, we will make a couple changes and we'll check on it again next week. And then, based on what we've seen happen, we may do no additional work
Mhm.
on that same section
Yeah.
the next week because we haven't seen how Google's going to react to it. Google hasn't reacted yet. Or we may see like that it dropped a lot or it went up a lot, and then we make a decision based on that. Okay, do we let it chill for another week and then we go and kind of work on something different,
Yeah.
or do we feel that we need to make some changes? And sometimes when we get a nice little bump, we can ride that even further by making a few little tweaks.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So is it true? And I don't know where I heard this. I feel like it was at an event that you and I were at together, maybe. That if we do change something, if we add a blog post or something, and we put a Twitter link to it, then Google picks it up. If we add Google on Twitter with a link to that blog post, do they pick it up quicker?
It's that is one trick that used to
Okay.
work.
Okay.
We don't necessarily practice that as like a consistent thing on every single thing that
Gotcha.
we do now because it doesn't have the same impact.
Okay.
But yeah, what you're saying is a true statement. Especially in the past, it was very true. But as people become more aware of that kind of stuff, and as SEO companies do it more
Yeah.
across the board, Google changes it in their algorithm. They're like, okay, I see what all of you are doing,
Hmm.
and you're tricking the system. So we're
Hmm.
going to not have that hold quite as much weight. But
Makes sense.
to answer the question very specifically, for some things that are really easy to do, there's no reason not to do
Right.
them.
Yeah.
So, but on the flip side of that, for people listening, because we get this all the time, people are like, oh my gosh, I got to share this on Facebook and Twitter because my cousin's grandmother who runs an agency said that it would increase my traffic by 1,000%.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, slow down. Like you know, we don't want to try to do too much, because most people don't even have the basics covered. Like they don't even have service area pages. They don't even have a page for all of their service areas. So
Yeah.
they're missing the things that are most impactful.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we get those things done and cleaned up and on the right path, then we can start adding in the things that, you know, maybe make a 1% or a 2% difference.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
when we got a big meaty part that's not being done, like what some of the stuff we've been working on for you, like adding new content for the different cities that you serve,
Yeah.
you know, that's like a 20% change.
Right.
So we want to focus on the really big stuff first with our time, and then we can start some of that smaller tweaking.
Okay. That makes sense. I get it.
So some of the stuff that we've worked on for Icebound over the course of the last couple months is adding content. And a lot of web companies, and unfortunately a lot of SEO companies, don't take the time to add content for each of the service areas and each of the services that you guys offer. And it's just, it's crazy. And so what we've done is we've created some new content for a few of the other areas where we didn't really have much. So even though like you're in Pooler, we didn't have a lot of content specific for Pooler.
Yeah.
And you were ranking for Pooler, but the way it was set up, we were actually pulling from potential ranking for Savannah, which, you know, Savannah is really where we want to rank because that's where all the search traffic is.
Totally. Yeah,
so
completely.
By separating that out and creating some content just for Pooler, now we can use the meat of the site, you know, the homepage and some of the main pages to really rank for those for Savannah, where we're going to get better search traffic.
Okay, that makes sense.
And we've seen it happen. Like you already ranked really well for Pooler, but we've bumped back up, like where we were maybe third or fourth or fifth. Now we're like one again for Pooler.
Yeah, that's what I've often wondered if it was because we were located in Pooler. That's the reason why we were ranking in Pooler. Even though, like like you said, the search, we want to be ranked in Savannah, obviously. But I didn't know if it was just a default setting because we were ranked in Pooler, even though we weren't like really targeting Pooler, if we were just being ranked there because we're located there.
That was based on what I saw. Well, there's two reasons you were ranking in Pooler. One is geographic location, and then two, your previous marketing company optimized quite a bit for Pooler because, you know, the account manager probably saw, oh, they're in Pooler. Okay, let's market for Pooler, which it goes back to that. You know, you don't have to create a super custom plan, but at least ask the question, do some research.
If they would have done any research, they would have known that Savannah is a much larger area than Pooler is. I mean, Pooler is a suburb of Savannah. So, and our techs live in Savannah. So like it would be much better just to keep them in Savannah.
Yeah, completely. So we've been working on adding that content. We also added a page on the site for service areas. So the basic structure we generally go for is we'll have a page on the website that says areas we serve, or service areas, whatever you want to call it. And then on that page, we'll list out all of the different cities, suburbs, whatever that is that's important to you that people might be searching for.
Okay.
Then we'll go through and we'll do keyword research to see which of those keywords or which of those areas are getting a little bit higher search volume. And then combine that with what's important to you as a business owner. Where are your good clients? Where do they live? And then we'll kind of start writing from that way.
Okay. Yeah. So wherever our target avatar is, then
work exactly
there. Okay.
Yeah. And our goal is not our goal. What will happen is eventually, like let's say you have 15 areas around Savannah. Very, very shortly, we'll have all of those pages created, page of content for each one of those. We want to be cautious. We don't want to do, like, for example, all of them in 1 month, because now we've put this massive amount of new content on the site. Google sees it, and then the next month we got nothing. So we want to roll it out, a couple at a time over the course of a few months.
Okay, that makes sense. Is that the same way with like blog posts? Do they have to be consistent in order for them to be relevant?
Blog post. So the whole blogging thing has changed over the last few years
Oh,
because,
has it?
look at every SEO company 5 years ago, including us. We were like, all right, we're going to write one blog post a week and
Hmm.
post that, and then we're going to link it back internally, and it
Yeah.
worked, right? And that was the
Hmm.
best practice. Well, now that content doesn't hold quite as much weight.
Okay.
Um, so we want to make sure that we have enough really good static pages, like pages that actually live on the site
Yeah, yeah.
constantly and consistently. Then we can pepper in relevant things on the blog.
Okay.
Which, like for you, for example, this is a great message to everybody. People always say, well, what do we write blogs about? Well, write blogs about things that are going on in the company, in the community. So for Tersh, give you an awesome little plug here, 40 under 40.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and so we took that and got a nice little post up on the website. And so not only does it give you and the company credibility, but now we're creating relevant content to the company, the service, and your geographic area. So
Yeah,
that's a good blog post.
we seem to get a lot of engagement from that post, which
Well,
is
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
it's got a picture of you on it, of course.
Right. Yeah. So I guess, like, how have we done? How can we see like a physical change in difference from,
Yeah,
I guess, 60 days ago till now?
let's let us take a peek at that. So I'm going to show you. This is just one of the pieces of software that we use for just for some tracking.
Mm.
So this tracks keyword rank for the keywords that we've selected and for just some of the ones that we found that you ranked for. Even if they're not 100% relevant, if you're ranking like first, second page for something, we're generally going to track it because we want to know, like we'll talk about in just a second, you're starting to show up for like refrigerator repair
Yeah.
because of the
Right.
refrigeration side.
Mm.
So we're tracking that because you don't do refrigerator repair.
Right. Right.
So we want to pay attention to it and say, hey, if we start ranking number one for that and it starts driving phone calls that are out of alignment and it's wasting your time, we're going
Yeah.
to try to find a way to actually get you to
Off of
not
that.
rank for that, but still rank for refrigeration.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
So what this shows right here is this shows last 60 days. And you can kind of see as we even came out of the um, a little bit in that beginning
Yeah.
phases where
Hmm.
we were all over the place. This shows the average position for all of the keywords that we're tracking. So
Mm.
just in this system, we're tracking 73 keywords. We generally don't report on that many keywords to our clients because it just causes more issues than anything. But we're tracking a lot more than we report because we use that data each week when we're working on the account to help
Gotcha.
make good decisions.
Gotcha.
But it's
Gotcha.
like the stock market. Like you wouldn't look at your stock market or your stocks every day or it'll drive you insane.
Oh yeah, you will go crazy.
So you can kind of see here in the beginning, around the 1st of September, when we were still going through these big fluctuations as Google was figuring it out. All right, are you really relevant?
Hmm.
Are you just trying to trick the system? What do you got going on? And then once we kind of finish that initial proving ground, you can start to see the average position steadily climbing here. And this is a great graph of what we really want to see happen with all of our clients. Is just that
Okay.
nice steady climb
Hmm.
forever. I mean, until you're number one, then the chart just goes off the page. But you can see, you can see like where here with some of the pooler keywords where you were like middle of the first page. Well, now when we broke out that content for pooler, now we gave Google a place to show that
Okay.
and not or a place to rank for that, and it was very specific. And now you can see what's
Yeah.
happening. So pooler, you own, not surprising. Um, then you'll also start to see here, where were some of those Savannah? So yeah, here's, you can see the emergency refrigerator repair Savannah. We're up like
Yeah.
10 spots. So we're keeping an eye on that just to say like, all right,
Yeah.
what's that really going to turn into? So if your CSR team starts getting calls for refrigerator repair, we want to know it and we're going to have to make some changes.
Yeah, we'll definitely let you know.
Yeah. And then in here, you can see, so now that we separated out some of this additional content, it really gives the site the meat to show or to focus on Savannah.
Yeah.
So starting to show up, we were that would have been page 3, ranking
Okay.
for emergency furnace repair Savannah. Well, now we've jumped up to 8. So we're on the towards the bottom of the first page, which is
Okay.
fantastic. And you can start to see these other things with Savannah come in,
Hmm.
commercial heating repair, commercial HVAC company. You can start to see that happen. And then Tybee Island, which is some of the newer content as well that we
Yeah.
broke out. You weren't ranking anywhere for air conditioner repair Tybee Island, and now we're 10th. We're on the bottom of the first page.
Right.
So it's these simple things that a lot of SEO companies overlook, and they they want to make these really big jumps right in the beginning
Hmm.
to try to prove to the client they're doing something well. And then
Right.
once they show a couple big ranks, then they kind of just like stop doing anything.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, so you've just got to be consistent with this stuff.
And it's tough whenever you add all that content and then the next couple months you don't add anything, and then your rankings essentially they're going to fail back down.
Yeah. So, for anybody that is watching this, you can see I'm looking at one of the pages on the Icebound site that shows all of the service areas. And, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to count those, maybe 20, 15
Yeah.
or 20.
Hmm.
And you can see as we're going to continue to fill out the content for these different areas.
Each one of those locations.
Yep, exactly. So that's kind of what we've been working on, and you can see the results from it so far. And like I said, a couple. Well, I have a couple points that I want to mention that are
Yeah.
important for people. One, we just showed keywords that are showing increases in furnace repair.
Hmm.
Well, at the time of this recording, it's starting to get mild there. It's October,
Yep.
but we started working on furnace keywords and heating keywords, a month and a half ago.
Right.
And then we're going to start working on AC again. Only in a couple months, if
Hmm.
that even. So you want to make sure that your marketing company is working a couple months ahead of seasonality changes. So when it's 100 degrees outside, it might seem counterintuitive to follow up with a client and say, hey, we're going to start working on furnace repair.
Yeah.
But that's the right way to do it. So make sure your marketing company is ahead of the time.
Yeah, I like how Denise says it. Denise Swafford
Yeah.
from CEO Warrior, and she says in July when when you see those fireworks going off, that should remind you. That should let you know to start getting ready for furnaces to go off. Uh,
Oh, I love that.
and Thanksgiving, whenever you open up the turkey, what was it? She says, I don't know, I'll screw it up. Something about Thanksgiving dinner, and start thinking about it getting hot in the heater, and um, start preparing for your air conditioning season. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
I love that. And it's so true, right? Like we basically try to work about a season ahead.
Hmm.
So when it's hot, we
Yeah,
start thinking about cold. When it's
a
cold,
lot
we
of
start
my
thinking about hot.
techs, they've often, like during the wintertime whenever we're slow and I'm like super busy, because it's traditional for us to be pretty slow during the wintertime, just because it's the season that we have. And they're like, man, you're working all these hours, and then during the summertime whenever they're slammed, I'm usually a little slower because um, I've already planned out, that's my planning seasons during the slow season, and then their planning seasons their busy time is during the summer. So we're trying to get that leveled out, and so we don't have a shoulder season, so we can stay busy all the time. But we're still working on that. So
Yeah. Well, look, you're doing it right. It's coming, and it'll come quick.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
by
I hope
next
so.
year that you'll be able to have this leveled out.
I could see that. I mean, it's the leaps and bounds that have been made so far are really good and consistent too. So that's really cool.
Awesome.
Cool, man. Well,
So yeah, what do you have anything else that you want to kind of chat about, or that's specific on this side? We can talk a little bit about LSA.
yeah,
I can
let's talk a
mention
little
that
bit
real
about
quick.
that, because
Cool.
we just are getting onboarded with that. So
Awesome. So a couple things for Google local service ads. One, if you're not on it, you need to be on it.
mhm.
Get on it. All you got to do is go to Google, type in sign up for Google local service ads, and it's the first one that comes up.
Yeah.
What'll happen is you'll put in your zip code and it'll tell you if the service is available in your area. It's available in pretty much every major metro area. And now it's been rolling out all year to like kind of secondary size wise markets.
Hmm.
And then now we're even starting to see it show up in more rural markets.
Hmm.
So just just get on it. Even if you're not going to use it, go ahead and sign up and go ahead and go through the background checks, because they're so far behind. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
taken a month, 2 months, sometimes even 3 or 4 months
Yeah.
to go through the background check. So just do it now so that you at least have the availability to turn it on. It doesn't cost you anything
Hmm.
to go through that process. And a couple things to pay attention to with local service ads is Google wants you to use their system. So what that means is you need to be going into the local service ads dashboard and categorizing the calls as, like booked, completed, and then you also need to go in there and add the customer's information, their email address, their phone number, because
Really?
Google wants to see. Well, Google's selfish, right? They want
Yeah.
they want the data. Um, but the reason for doing that is that's one of the ways that we can help get a company to rank higher in local service ads, is by utilizing the Google system and giving them all that information. And then another good reason to have their email in there is because when the job is complete, right from local service ads, you can just click request review and Google will send the email saying, hey, how was your service?
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, so it makes life even a little bit easier. Um, and as you get more of those reviews, Google's going to continue to rank you higher and higher. Um, Other stuff with local service ads is start pretty niche. Don't try to go into like every possible zip code that you have available for every possible service. Like, just really start with what you want to show up for.
Okay.
If you're HVAC and you kind of do duct cleaning, but it's really not a focus, then don't put it on there as a service. Just
Gotcha.
start with the things that you really want business for, because if you started to get a lot for duct cleaning and you weren't taking those jobs, you weren't booking them, Google's going to say, okay, well, obviously they don't want these, so we're going to stop showing them as often.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So start small, crank your budget up a little higher than you would actually like to spend.
Hmm.
We're seeing this disparity between, like, for example, if you say, hey, I'm willing to spend $1,000 a week on local service ads, Google might only spend 200 to 500 of that budget. And a lot of people think, oh, well, that just means that we're maxed out. But what we've seen in some cases is, if let's just say we tripled the budget and set it for $3,000,
Uh,
they might actually show you enough to spend 1,000.
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So the workload is there. It's just Google's regulating it or pulling it
Yeah. I
back.
think it's still such a new system. Google's still making changes to this like daily.
Okay.
So they're still figuring out how they show people, how often do you show somebody that's normally ranked 8th by the algorithm? How often are you pushing them up to 2nd to see if customers actually like them more than the current people that are there 1st and 2nd?
But there's no like bias there. Is there like it's pretty generic looking for the consumer. Like, do they show your Google rankings, like your Google reviews and stuff whenever they're comparing?
They do. Here,
Okay.
let me show this real quick. So this is a search for AC repair in
Nice.
31405. So I don't know
Okay.
exactly where that is in Savannah, but so yeah, you do AC repair, and you can see here Icebound is first.
Uh-huh.
Then we have a couple others, and you can even see, like, so Icebound 125 star reviews. Our second person 333 but 4.8 stars.
Yeah.
Now these are going to fluctuate all the time as Google kind of tests to see who is actually doing the best job.
Okay.
But those reviews are definitely very important, and it is kind of nice because it does show the reviews. So now
Yeah.
if you're a consumer, you're like, all right, well, Icebound's got 5, Pro has 5, but you got 120 reviews versus they have 39.
Yeah.
And then we got, Rick's got to get on it down there.
He's got to get on it.
Rick, if you're listening, get on it, brother. um,
Now,
But
does it
yeah,
matter the open 24/7? I did see that Rick's is closes at 4.
yeah. So here's what'll happen with that is when if you're not uh, well, two things. So it will show you based on what time of day it is.
Okay.
So Rick has pretty much no chance of showing up after 4 or 5
Okay.
because he's closed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why would Google's not going to serve that?
Yeah.
The other thing to note is that in local service ads, you can set your ads to run on a schedule. So you could say, for example, turn them off at 5 o'clock every day because you
Okay.
don't want to necessarily drive after hours calls. Because even if you offer 24/7, if you don't want your text to have to be out there all the time,
Yeah.
um,
Or
then
depend on the after hours call
yeah,
center to answer the phones properly and do everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude, we should just do a whole show on that. Um,
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Yeah, I've experienced some of that. Mm.
yeah. So the other thing to notice or to pay attention to is that when your ads are turned off, so let's just say, for example, yours are running from 8 to 5.
Mhm.
Well, at 5 o'clock, when your ad turns off, your little green check mark in Google Guarantee goes away,
Okay.
and you drop down to
So you still
here.
show up, but
Yep,
you just don't show up as Google Guarantee.
exactly. So
Okay.
just something to keep in mind. Like we've had customers, like our clients, call and freak out. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like what happened? Our Google guarantee is gone." I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
when are you searching?" They're like, "Well, 12:30 at night." I'm like,
Yeah.
"All right, well, just remember what your ad schedule is.
Okay.
You're not going
So
to show up."
so you're going to show up down at the bottom, but you're so you won't get charged for the ads.
Correct.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So it's you still show up. I mean, you don't get if you do really good branding, you might nab a couple,
Yeah.
but you're not going to get
I
many.
feel like it would be the people that are in the areas that are this is just starting out or not many people are signed up for Google Guarantee. So like there might only be 3 people on the rankings altogether, and you're the one that's not Google Guaranteed, or maybe nobody's Google Guaranteed, and you're the
Yeah.
only one that has the check mark.
Yeah, we're starting to see Google pull from Google My Business and kind of
Uh,
just like put people down there
okay,
um, when they open some of the new markets. Maybe they continue to go that way. Maybe they stop. I mean, we just don't know because it's still so new.
gotcha. Cool, 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 cool. Yeah, so I probably need to get with you sometime and is there a process? Do we have a process? I know you've reached out to the office, sending in the email follow ups for the people that we have used or that's used us through the Google service,
Yeah. So what
LSA.
what we're doing with our local service ads management, we go in and we listen to the call and we try to pull out all of the customer data and then we enter it into the system.
Okay, yeah,
And then we
we get
also
that all.
mark the call as like we'll mark it as a good call or a
Mm,
junk call.
okay,
Because the other nice thing about local service ads is if you get a junk call like a telemarketer, we can mark that as a junk call, and now we'll actually get a refund for
what
that money.
about abandoned calls? So, like, will they refund for an abandoned call? Like the person never, like they hung up after 19 seconds.
If it's abandoned, you should never, in a perfect world, you should never get charged for it because the call never actually happened.
Okay,
But we don't live in a perfect world, so
all
you
right.
need to keep an eye on those as
Okay.
well.
Yeah, so because we track abandoned calls too, just to verify, like, hey, was it because we took a minute and a half to answer the phone, like it rang that long, or if it's truly just the telemarketer, because as soon as it said this call may be recorded and
Hmm.
monitored, they hang up because they know that we're on a do not call registry type stuff. So yeah, I just want to ask about that because
Yep.
we get tons of abandoned calls a day. We try to call them all back, but most of the times they don't answer because it's
Yeah.
telemarketer.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll see something new in robocalls over the next year, but they're annoying.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, they're freaking horrible. And then we get the crazy thing is we'll get calls from people that'll say, "Yeah, you just called me, and I was just calling you back because somebody has used our phone number as a ghost number
Hmm.
to to robocall other people." And it's great whenever those people are in our service area. I mean, we've had like one or two where we've called them back and they've they've been like, they've asked that. Have you, did you just call us? I was calling you back because you called us, and we instantly knew that it was a robocall that had called them. But we're saying, well, we're in Savannah. Are you in Savannah? We offer air conditioning services. Do you need air conditioning services?
Dude, that's awesome.
And they're like, yeah, actually, it's time for a tune up, isn't it? I
Oh,
said, it's time it's that time of year. So
I wish
yeah.
more of our clients would do that, or like more of our clients would train their CSRs to do that.
Totally. If there's a way for us to make $1, we're gonna try and, if it takes time. I mean, if they're gonna take the time to spend calling out and outbounding that call to do a follow up, it's an opportunity to close a lead. So
Yeah,
totally. Yep.
absolutely, man.
Cool, man. Well, do you have anything else to add?
um, I got a couple closing points just for people listening about
Let's do it.
dealing with a marketing agency. We probably said these on the last one. I say them all the time, but a couple things that you should be getting. So when you hire an agency, remember that it's the agency's responsibility to perform for you and to proactively communicate. It's your job as the business owner or the marketing person to build a relationship and provide information and feedback and communication to the marketing agency. Because even though things might seem like what's going on in your business, or you decided to drop a line of service or add a line of service and you've been talking about it for 6 months, a lot of times people forget to tell us until we
Right.
see, like,
Yeah.
they'll call and they'll be like, oh, hey, why isn't duct cleaning on the website? We're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So go out of your way to proactively build a relationship with your marketing agency. There's some things in business that you can just write the check for and be done with it. And this is definitely not one of them. The people, Tersh, you do a really good job. The people that communicate with us and build a relationship with our account management team
Yeah.
are the ones that really, really succeed. So make sure that, a good agency should, at minimum, be sending monthly reporting, ideally some sort of a mid-month checkup too, just about what's going on. So now you're seeing the reporting. Now you're also seeing kind of what that trend is, and you're also getting an update of what they're working on, uh, so that you can make sure, oh wait, hey, we're going to be dropping duct cleaning,
Yeah.
so stop working on that, whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a perfect world, you should be talking to your agency about once a month. I would say at minimum every 90 days. Your marketing agency should be building some sort of a 90-day plan or a quarterly plan, and then providing that to you, one, to make sure it's in alignment with what you want and where your business is going, review that with you. And then what it does is it gives, like at our company, it gives our team, our specialists that are working on the SEO and the local service ads and the pay-per-click, it gives them a clear roadmap so they can map out their workload for the next 90 days and make sure that they're doing the absolute best towards that 90-day plan.
Yeah.
Whereas if we get a lot of things, oh, hey, can you do this? Oh, hey, can you do this? Well, we can do that, but that's taking away from this really important stuff, which is ranking and lead generation. So they should be providing some sort of a 90-day plan and working with you. They should be auditing your website every once in a while. We do it every 90 days, make sure that there's not really cool opportunities to increase conversion. What's the current conversion rate? Should we change the color of some buttons, whatever that is? And
It's funny because, like, when you do an audit, like somebody did an audit at one of the engineers, and they were like, this page won't move up far enough, and I hadn't even traveled to that page ever, and neither had Luke or anybody else. And then so, like, this one person had found the glitch in the site that could be fixed, really simply, but somebody else might have gotten on our site and seen it and been just super irritated and just bounced completely off site.
Yep. Yeah. So that's really it. That's my only little soapbox is build a relationship. Treat your marketing company like somebody that's internal, and you hired them as an employee, because it's no doubt one of the biggest marketing expenses.
Yeah.
Treat it like that. Treat it just like you would your best technician or a great CSR. Take the time to build a relationship, and it'll give exponential returns.
It's funny. I was interviewed by a company that's over in England, and part of her interview process, she was asking about marketing and whatnot, and I was talking about you know agencies and hiring agencies and my experience in agencies in the past, and she said, "Well, here." we all have somebody in-house, like this, a position you hire in-house. And I was telling her the benefit of hiring an agency like yours. And she was like, well, how do you have that? Like, how do you control certain things and aspects? I was like, communication, building that communication, that relationship. And if you can't build that communication, that relationship with your agency as if they are somebody that's in-house with you, then you need a different agency. Mm-hmm. And that goes back to like what you just said. And a lot of people don't, like, just out of ignorance, like we don't know what we don't know until we know, and then once you know, like, this is what you should expect, then every time that you don't get that type of service, then you're paying for shit. Basically it's just you're wasting your time, effort, and energy. So just create that relationship. And I can attest 100% because I've experienced not having the relationship, and then whenever you go to cancel it, it's like, wait, why we don't understand why you're canceling. And then if you have that relationship and you come to that mutual agreement where you unfortunately do have to cancel it, then you've already like, okay, yeah, this is kind of a mutual thing. We both expected this to come. Or you never even get close to the part to where you're like, okay, we're gonna have to cancel it, because you've communicated so much between each other. Like you and I were talking about this before we even got on here, and it's like, I've talked to Luke, I've talked to Mackenzie, I've talked to all these people, and it's like, you said, have you talked to anybody lately? And I'm like, have I talked to anybody lately? And I looked at my emails, and it's like, last week I talked to 3 people. The week before that I talked to 2 people. And then, I had my 90-day roadmap call, and then my audit. And then, I get all these reports, and it's sometimes some people can have that, what's it called? Paralysis by analysis. And you can have too much information. But honestly, if you've developed a relationship, you can say, hey, look, like, this is way too much information for me. Can you just tell me what's going on? And like Luke will just instantly make me a video and be like, okay, well, this is what we're doing. This is how we got it going on. And, this is what you should expect in the next 90 days. If you have any questions, let me know. And, so it's honestly, if you're not getting that kind of relationship, you need to call Steven or call somebody at WIT, because that's what you should be getting. That it doesn't cost any extra to have that great relationship. And I don't understand why people are missing the boat on that. Honestly, I think it's just the industry accepted that you're allowed to not have communication, because there's so many agencies out there that are bad at communicating. But you can tell that that's one of WIT's core values. Like, it's that over communication almost. Like, it's the same with us. Like, communicate until it's like, okay, we're tired of communicating with you. Like, everything that's going on here. And so that's really cool. I appreciate that 100%.
You nailed it, brother. Build a relationship. It's worth it. I promise.
100%. Cool, man. Well, thank you again for coming on and sharing everything, and sharing everything with Icebound that's going good and bad. We didn't really have a lot of bad, so
no, it's good, man. I mean, like,
good for you. Good for me.
Next time or the time after, like, dude, I mean, we will have something that's not ideal. Like, we're gonna fall for something, or we're gonna, something will happen. Like, we're never gonna have 12 months of perfection.
Totally.
But if we can get a good 9 or 10, that's a huge win.
And it may be something where we're being so proactive that we're kicking butt here right now, and somebody that has really old content that's green, maybe they will outrank us like in December. You think that that's a possibility?
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
We just come back and kick their butt some more, figure out how they're ranking.
There you go, man. And some of it's just age, right? Like, they've been, maybe they've had 50 pages of furnace content in Savannah for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's just going to take a little time to prove to Google that we're more relevant now.
Yeah. 100%. Cool, man. I appreciate it, bud.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you. We'll see you again soon.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Service Business Mastery Podcast. If you found value in this episode, please share it with your friends and family. Also, if you're on LinkedIn or Instagram, take a screenshot of this if you're listening to it with your cell phone, and share it on your Instagram stories, your Facebook stories, and tag us. My handle is @Tersplicit, and then WIT Digital, or it may be WIT Delivers. But I will put Stephen Christopher's information and how to get in touch with that team in the show notes. And if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And also make sure you join the group, the Facebook group that WIT has. It's packed full of a ton of content, and they're super involved and super engaged. So I challenge you to join that group and be engaged and gather as much content as you can. And don't be afraid to ask questions. I think that's the biggest thing is don't be afraid of coming across as someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, because that's me in the Facebook groups. So thank you again for listening to the Service Business Mastery Podcast, the podcast focused on service business owners, managers, and technicians who are considering becoming business owners themselves. We'll talk again next week.